This is really just an avenue where I want to get more in depth with you guys, provide more value. I really do feel like our real estate strategy and just a lot of the things we touch on and really focus on for ourselves are hard to wrap into a quick Instagram post or a quick story. Hello, you guys. Welcome to Off Grid with Zoey B. If you are listening to this is the first episode of the Off Grid podcast, and I am so excited to be here. I am your host. I will be interviewing guests, having solo episodes, and really just pouring value into you guys as much as I can. Like I said, thank you for being here. A little bit about the Off Grid podcast and why it came about and why it exists. I have been a fan and obsessed with podcasts since the beginning. You can find me driving in my car listening to podcasts. While the baby's napping, I have a headphone in listening to a podcast. When I work out, when I'm on a walk, it is something I absolutely love because it is such a good avenue to pour into yourself, educate yourself, and just learn more and be learning with whatever you're doing. Habit stacking to a T. I always had a goal to come up with a podcast. Over the last year and a half, we had a newborn, working on renovations, working on builds. And now I feel like it is something I really want to take on, this new medium. I want to pour into you guys as much as possible. And I really want to thank you guys for just being here with me and giving me the patience to make this avenue come to life. Like a lot of you guys know, I am running this business. We are running our properties, our real estate portfolio, and raising our daughter all with ourselves. We're doing it by ourselves. We're trying to find that balance. And I think bringing on a new medium right now feels right for me. What you can expect from me and my mission is to really dive into all things. So the name Off Grid came about because I want to go off topic and kind of go off the radar with what other people are talking about. We're going to talk about real estate. That's obviously a huge passion of mine, but honestly, I am not just real estate. It's not all I do, all I think about all the time. It's a big aspect of our life, but it is not everything. So we're going to talk about real estate, but I also love personal finances. I want to get into, travel credit card hacking with you guys. Honestly, just parenthood and what that's looked like for us and motherhood and going through, the last year and a half postpartum. I feel like you're postpartum for literally 2 years. So I'm still learning how to find that balance of growing a business, raising our daughter, being a co-parent with my husband and parenthood and what that has looked like, and also expanding our real estate business at the same time. So I really want to get into all the topics with you guys. Not just real estate, like I said, but entrepreneurship, interviewing other business owners that are making an income and a business off their passion, whether that is marketing. We have some knitters coming on. We have people that own real estate. We have influencing, just all the different ways that you can build a side hustle and build a business for yourself. As you guys may know with my story, I built a business off of freelancing and side hustling, and that got poured into real estate and built me a second business, which is now real estate. I still do a little bit of freelancing and marketing. So it is something that has really seamlessly entered into my life and built me that ability to leave the 9-to-5 world. I am that person that's going to be in your back pocket, telling you it can happen, telling you it's possible, saying there is a way to make those dreams that you have come to life and bring that vision to life. So that is what you can expect from me. I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. To get a little bit more into our story and a little bit more about me, I want this to just be kind of an introduction episode that if you are new here, you feel like you're getting to know me a little bit and catching the first episode to hear more about where I came from, why I'm bringing this podcast to you, and let's get into that. So about me, I'm actually from Michigan. I'm a Midwest girl. No one, I feel like, knows that. My husband and I now reside all of our properties in Colorado, and I feel like everyone thinks I'm like a true Colorado girl, but I actually am a Great Lakes grown girl. So I lived in Michigan the first 20 years of my life. I did move to California for a year when I was 17 years old. It was my first year of college. I feel like no one also knows that about me either. So I originally grew up in Detroit, 45 minutes outside of the neighborhood of Detroit. And I absolutely love, let me start over real quick. So like I said, I am from Michigan. I actually went to Michigan State, graduated from Michigan State. Kind of off brand, feel like I went to Michigan State University. It's a huge school, huge, Big Ten school, but I did end up going there. When I was 17, I actually moved to California. I went to a school in Newport Beach and actually just picked up and moved my entire life to the other side of the country, thousands of miles away from anyone I knew, where I was, where my family was. And what I did is I actually got a job working at Nordstrom full time. That was my first introduction to retail. And I was working while also going to college and putting myself through school. It was a community college. I was paying out-of-state tuition, which was still $1 million bajillion dollars. And while I was doing that, I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. I literally moved across the country like the week before school started. I enrolled myself like 3 days before school started. I didn't have, the counselor to help map me out with the classes. I just had to figure it all out on my own. And I look back and I'm like, I've been figuring it out since then, really. So I did that first year, transferred to Michigan State, moved back to Michigan, did 3 years there, graduated Michigan State. I studied advertising, minored in sales. I was always, after going to a community college, I kind of realized how much was out there for you at a Big Ten school, how much people wanted to help you, how much opportunity, all the clubs you could be in. So I really treated my 3 years at Michigan State as like, I want to maximize this to the most I can being a Big Ten school. So I joined BIM Magazine, which was their fashion magazine, basically. Few years in, I was the editor-in-chief. By the last year, my senior year, I was the co-editor-in-chief with someone else, and I was managing a club of like 300 people. We had like 45 team members under us that managed their own teams. And I look back and I'm like, that was the first introduction into leadership. I really enjoyed leadership and just handling so many different things, multitasking all the time. So that's a little bit about me. And then I really just picked up my life after I graduated. I only wanted to move to Scottsdale, Arizona. That was the only place I wanted to be. I don't know why. It just I was like, that's it. I'm not going anywhere else. I had an offer in Boston for a Fortune 500 company, turned it down, and I moved to Arizona. What actually worked out in my favor was my best friends and I, we did a cross-country trip where our first stop was Arizona, then we did Montana, and we did Sedona as well. And we bounced around for 3 weeks. We did all those locations. And I told myself when I'm in Arizona, I want to interview for jobs so that I can get a job offer and move back here and strategically plan my vacation to plan interviews, which worked in my favor because I did get an interview. I did get a job offer. We were in Montana at the time when the job offer came through. It was social media marketing manager at $55,000 a year. Had to go into the office in Scottsdale, Arizona. Scottsdale at the time when I moved there in 2019 was not what it is today. I feel it is now a huge city, huge opportunities, big companies. But I feel like back then it was like a resort town where no one actually worked there and actually lived there that I knew. So it was kind of hard to find a job realistically. I interviewed quite a few places and applied endlessly to anyone in Arizona that was working and hiring there. Moved, said yes to the job offer, and I moved a week later. So I packed up my car and drove 32 hours with my dad across the country and moved to Arizona. I had one roommate that I knew from Brighton, Michigan. Shout out to Sydney. And she was going to ASU. I was starting a life in Arizona, and I really was just so excited and thrilled that I was an adult and I got to make adult decisions and move and live where I wanted and work and get up when I wanted. I loved adulting. I still do. I feel like there's a bad rap on adulting that working's not fun and making your own money is stressful and there's so much responsibility. But I'm like, people don't realize how amazing it is to be able to make your own money, make your money you want to make, and literally live the life you want to live just because you want to do that. And you get to go hiking if you want on a Saturday because no one's telling you not to. I didn't really align to the social drinking scene at Michigan State. I did it. I partaked in it. I did drink when I was 21 at Michigan State and did all the partying. But when I moved to Arizona, I kind of knew this is not what I want to keep doing. I don't want to go to the clubs. I lived actually 200 feet from the biggest nights clubs in Scottsdale, Arizona. Never went to any of them. I just really wanted to find my community of people that were outside and rock climbing. I got into new hobbies. I had never rock climbed before. I started doing it 3 days a week after work. I still have met some of my closest friends from rock climbing Arizona. We now have, traveled and lived all over the country and we still stay together. So that was a little bit about my first few years after school. A funny story is I actually met my husband, now husband, in Arizona, and he was my neighbor. Really crazy story. I'll share a little bit about it. People love our story, and I don't talk about it enough, but I lived it, so I don't feel like I need to. Reed was my neighbor. I knew he was a pilot. That's the only thing I knew about him. I had never talked to him. We lived next to each other for like a year and a half. And I literally would tell people, like, that's my pilot neighbor. I want to date my pilot neighbor. And they'd be like, why do you say that? And I'm like, I don't know. You just like feel like he's cute and I don't really know his deal, but I feel like he's good vibes. I see him in the gym all the time. Our cars were like always parked next to each other. So I kind of like, in a way, knew his routine. Like he would go to yoga. I would see him in the hallway walking to yoga with his yoga mat. Like you kind of living next to someone get a vibe of what they do day in and day out. He was kind of like always by himself, really quiet. If you know Reed, he is pretty quiet. And yeah, he was just very mysterious. So we lived next to each other for like a year and a half, never talked or anything. I actually, at the start of the pandemic, started traveling remotely with my mom because you could, and my job went remote. And I traveled for like 3 or 4 months straight. And I finally was like, you know what? I should go back to my apartment, check my mail, like see what the vibe is, see what's happening. Like I haven't been there in so long. And I went back and I ran into Reed in the gym. The gym was the first place I went. Loved the gym. I was, always there when I could be. And I walked in and he popped right up and was like, Zoe. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm moving out on Friday. We had like 3 days before it was Friday. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I'll probably never see you again, unfortunately. And he's like, do you want to go to dinner? So we went to dinner. I was like, for sure, 100%. And the next day he's like, do you want to go paddleboarding? We went paddleboarding. And then there was like 1 day left before he moved out of Arizona for good. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I subtly thought to the back of my mind, like I should go to Colorado with him. That would be like a fun little road trip. But I did not invite myself. Let's be clear here. I think he was like, oh, I'm going to Chipotle. Do you want anything? And I was like, oh, I'll come with. Like, I'll just walk with you. And he was like, oh, wow. Like, you literally just wanted to walk over there with me and hang out. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And he extended the invite and said, do you want to come on the road trip with me? And I was like, if you invite me, I will come and show up. Like, don't invite me if you're trying to be nice. If you don't want to hang out with me, like, don't invite me because I'm not someone who's going to say yes and not go. Like, if anyone knows me, I will show up to things. I will, be there. I'm not going to say yes to things and not show up or follow through. So 6 a.m. the next day, I had a backpack in hand, literally had really only been to Colorado once in my life, knew him for like 3 days. Some of my friends were a little like worried and were like, are you not freaked out? You're going on this road trip with him. But I really wasn't. Because I know him. We were neighbors for a year. I kind of knew his schedule, his vibes. I wasn't freaked out. I wasn't skeptical. Obviously, I wouldn't have gone if I was. And I showed up with a backpack at 6 a.m. and we hit the road for 12 hours, literally only knowing each other for 72 hours prior. And we stopped in Moab. Reed is like very respectful. He is the best human. And he was like so kind. We stopped in Moab for the night. I had never been to Moab. We like jumped in the river. I remember we were like hiking a ton. It was really fun. And my plan when I got to Colorado was like, I'm just going to check it out and I'll like bounce in like a week and go to Montana because it was dead hot middle of summer in Arizona. So we get to Colorado. We do some fun hiking. We kind of like find a groove. In a way, we moved in together before we were ever dating because when we got to Colorado, we were staying in a year together and we weren't even dating. And he was like so chill. I was like helping him unpack from Arizona. He had moved his whole life back there. And I was just kind of helping him organize things. And we just kind of found like a groove. And then a week later, he was like, I'm going to introduce you to our neighbor party as my girlfriend. And I was like, okay. So then I was like, wow, now I really don't know when I'm going to leave. And fast forward, it was 3 months of being in Colorado nonstop. Mind you, I literally showed up with a backpack. That's all I had for the whole summer. And it was kind of crazy, but it was the middle of a pandemic. Reed was a commercial pilot now, and no one was hiring. I was working remote. Like it was just a really good timing of things to happen. And I like look back and I'm like, if we hadn't had that pandemic like shutdown, I don't know what would have come. Because we were just like rooftop tenting all the time. We started renting out the year on Airbnb. That was our first summer. And we just like hit the ground running. And then after a few months, I was like, okay, I'm paying rent in Arizona. This is kind of ridiculous. I haven't been there in like 5-6 months. So we made the decision. I subleased my apartment. We drove back down there, packed everything up. And then officially I was like, okay, we like live together. I'm in Colorado. We've known each other for like 6 months now. And yeah, we have been inseparable ever since. Since then, We have lived in Arizona multiple times. We've moved back there. We've lived in Wisconsin. We've lived in Texas. We've lived in California. We've traveled to 45 states. We've lived in a camper van together. We have built multiple real estate properties together, built a short-term rental portfolio, have traveled all over the world while managing that and managing, our own businesses and becoming a pilot and a pilot for hire. So it's been an absolute whirlwind. We have been together for now 4 or 5 years. 2019, we got together. So 4 years. And I feel like we've lived 8 million lives together. I am so grateful to have met him when I did. We now have a 1.5-year-old daughter together who I absolutely just am obsessed with, and so is he. And it's been a lot of fun. We've lived so many lives together. I really do believe you find your person when it's right. And we got engaged. 3 weeks later, we got married. We threw a wedding within 60-day notice, and it's been a blast ever since. So that's a little bit about myself. You'll hear me mention Reed a ton. We'll try to get him in on an interview here for you guys, but he is the best human. He's the handiest human. He's so kind. He looks and seems like he's going to be some big bad guy with all these tattoos who's giant, and he is literally like a teddy bear, my favorite person ever. So that is a little bit about how we met. It's a crazy story. I've shared it on social media before if you want to catch that. A lot of you guys loved the story and hearing it. So that's a little bit more of a behind the scenes. And maybe we'll do a podcast on, relationships. I had gotten out of a really toxic relationship before meeting him, as well as he. And it just shows that there are really good, fulfilling relationships out there. And not everything has to be toxic and trauma and PTSD like past things. So that's a little bit about us. And we're going to definitely share how we built the business together, interview others who have built their business, like I said. And I wanted to get a little bit behind the scenes with you guys about myself. I am a huge outdoorsy mom. I was never a mom until 1.5 years ago. And it has been such a gift and new phase of life, new season of life in so many ways. We love to get outside. We love to go camping. We've lived in a camper van for 1 year. We've rented that out too, as well as all our houses that we own. Anything we own, I feel like we rent it out sometimes. And I love to be in the mountains. We live in Colorado technically. We don't necessarily have a home base, but all of our properties are in Colorado. So it's kind of been our home base over the years. But like I said, we've lived all over the country. We've moved, I think, 15 times in the last 4 years. So we never really have a full-time home. We traveled the whole pregnancy that I was pregnant with my daughter. We stayed put for 3 months. And then once she was 3 months, all the way until 17 months, we traveled about every 2 weeks. And she's been all over. She's been on 65 flights. Reed is a pilot, so he's flown some of those, obviously, but it's been a ton of fun. So that's a little bit about us. What you guys can expect from us is Reed's not taking part of this until he gets an interview, is 4 podcasts every single month are going to come out, 1 every week. Like I said, we're going to dive into all the things. And this is really just an avenue where I want to get more in depth with you guys, provide more value. I really do feel like our real estate strategy and just a lot of the things we touch on and really focus on for ourselves are hard to wrap into a quick Instagram post or a quick story. And when it comes to building and buying land and unique stays, there's so much that we do behind the scenes that sharing in a quick post can be difficult. So this is an avenue that I really want to dive into the nitty gritty with you, the behind the scenes, take you guys with us through the challenges, the wins, the mistakes, why we do certain deals, why we don't do certain deals, what we think about before we go forward with them. And honestly, just building our business as a couple, as parents together, raising kids throughout doing this, building homes throughout this, traveling, all of the things. So that's a little bit about us. Thank you guys for being here. Follow along on social media. I share everything behind the scenes and day to day with you. And make sure to check back here every single week for the new podcast episode. I will always share those as well on socials. But my mission is to help you guys grow your own business, help you feel confident in the life you're building. Build a life living on your own terms that you are excited about and you love adulting like I do. And just honestly, go out of the norm, go off grid, do things differently than others and feel really, really good about it. So thank you for being here. This is our introductory episode to get to know me a little bit. And we're going to dive into all of the good things in the following episodes. We'll catch you guys next time. And thank you guys for listening to another episode of Off Grid with Zoe Berghoff. If you got any value from today's episode, I always appreciate leaving a 5-star review or sharing with someone who is looking to live life on their own terms. I will catch you guys next time. Thank you for listening.